mother brought me home to East 20th Street when I was born. So the first thing I learned about was the east side of LA, you know, like All People's Christian Center, which is on 20th between San Pedro and Griffith. So I knew that area really well. That's where I learned how to walk and talk, and you know, so that was the first place I went. But then she moved to Campanella Park. She moved to the apartments across the street from Enterprise. So I went to St. Albert the Great. When we were there was no such thing as swamp. The swamps was really the swamps.
Yeah.
There were no houses. The apartments where everybody banged, Campanella Park, they lived behind the gate and all that. That wasn't even there. It was just a park, and the swamps was right there. Behind the school, it was swamps as well. And I believe, shit, now that I hear they call swamp Crips, I know why. We used to catch frogs over there and tadpoles, so it really was the swamps back in 68, 69. And then she moved a couple more times. Last two times, though, she moved to 66 and Dinker. And that's where I met Renard Potts. That was Raymond Potts' little brothers, Renee Potts, Cody Scott, his little brother, Keyshawn, Michael Orso, Todd Wesley, all them, White Boy Eric, Big Harv, Little Harv, Rabbit. They had a rabbit. The original rabbit was Quan. He was, I don't know what nationality he was, but he was Asian, man. He was a straight gangster.
So those were all future Northside A-Trays.
They were 6ix9ine Street Boys at the time. And one of my close friends was Frank. Me and Frank used to go skating, and I had no idea who his brothers were, but that's Cutes and Mouse, Rusty and them.
Did you know Opie? Was
Yeah.
Opie over there?
Man, Opie brushed a bottle in front of. We used to go. Opie and them would come over there and fight. That was one of my little. I can't say we was partners because we'd always fight. But yeah, Opie was a cool dude, man. He was a shit starter. But they had a fight in front of my house one time. I can't remember who he was fighting, but Opie was fighting, and he cracked a bottle and broke the bottle in front of the house. And my mama came outside with a broom. Monster Cody's outside, Opie's outside, the Potts is outside, Stagger Lee, Daryl and Junior, Rock. They all, man, everybody was outside. This is before A-Trays though, so wasn't nobody A-Tray at the time. My mama came outside with a broom and they broke it down. She said, I don't care if y'all fight, but you ain't gonna break that bottle. Clean that up, Opie. And Opie cleaned it up. It was the times where people were respectful to parents. You know, it wasn't no disrespecting the parent. And if Opie would have disrespect my mother would have told me and my brother Steve to get him. You know what I mean? Which would have turned into our street fighting his street, you know. But Opie came from the other side of Normandy, though.
So he lived where it eventually became 6-7 neighborhood Crip.
Yeah, I think that's probably why he got killed too, man. Trying to, you know, hold his own over there.
Some people tell me if he wouldn't have died, there would be no 6-7 neighborhood Crip.
Yeah, he was definitely listening to Cody. He was, you know, I mean, not just Cody. There was a dude named Conrad and Chico. Now, I have no idea whatever happened to them, but when they were younger, those were the first ones I ever knew to be A-Trays. And this is before there was a Northside A-Trays. They actually lived on 80th or 81st, but they would be at the Potts house all the time, at Raymond Potts house, and they would come around the corner, play football on the street with us, ride bikes with us.
So there must have been some remains of Westside Crip. Like
yeah, they was there. They was on 67th Street. So I didn't know them, but Tookie, the original P.D. Weestraw. Shit, there was a whole bunch of them over there. They lived on 67th. It was the sirens, the helicopters was out every night because of that. Matter of fact, Reginald Brown, his brother, Norris Sterling, his brother was P.D. the original P.D. Weestraw from Westside Crip. And they lived on 67th. And Reginald Brown, his sister, Tookie was dating his sister. So Tookie would be over there on 67. But my mother moved into the 60s. She moved from the north side A-Trays to the west side 60. So it was like, I was like, man, you got poor judgment, Mom. You just...
She wasn't probably paying attention to the gang landscape, right? She didn't have a map.
She didn't know.
She's looking for a place to live.
Yeah.
So when you got over there, we're at High Park, and...
So we was on 63rd and Crenshaw. We lived right on Crenshaw, directly across the street from May's restaurant.
So you must have went to like 3 or 4 elementary schools during these years.
I went to more than that. She kept us in elementary schools. Matter of fact, we about to pass one, St. Bridget's. We went to St. Bridget's, and we moved over there in the north side of Trades. We started going to St. Anselm's. So that was the difficult thing. Going to St. Bridget's wasn't no thing. Wasn't no gangs, really. Whatever the Crips were doing, they were doing, didn't apply to the little kids. But by the time we got to go to St. Anselm's, now I'm meeting the Rollin 60s as I walk from the 8 Trades. So I met JD, John L. Springer, little brother. You know, he wanted a pocket check. So now I got to meet the Springer boys as we fighting to get home. I met Stanley and Stacy Cheatham, and they want to know what's in my pocket, you know. It wasn't never about where you from. What's his name? Baker, Shyster. Shyster used to sit on his porch too, so couldn't walk down 67th Street, so I had to walk down 68th to get to school, but walking down 68th put me right there at Horace Mann, trying to get to the Catholic school, so it put me more in jeopardy and danger. So man, that was a hard thing to do, is to maneuver through these neighborhoods prior to Crips and Bloods, you know, when it was just little kids being bad. So I had to learn how to fight. I couldn't come home and tell my mother anything. Couldn't tell her they took my money, couldn't tell her I got beat up, none of that. She's like, boy, you better go outside and fight. Yeah,
but it's a lot of pressure put on us as youngsters, man, growing up in these streets.
Yeah. Especially when the parent doesn't understand the streets. So the parent doesn't understand, so she want me to go to the store, and I know if I go to the store, I got to go to a different store, you know. I'd rather go to the store on 65th and Western as opposed to going to the store on Normandy, which was a little bit closer, going to Quan's Market on 67th and Western. I mean 67th and Normandy. It was like, nah, I want to go to another store. Even going to the parks around here. You know, when we lived on 66 and Dinker, the guys on 66 and Dinker didn't feel comfortable going to Harvard Park, but they would go to St. Andrews Park. And really, to be honest with you, that was before really the Crips and Bloods. It was just, where do you feel more comfortable?
So when you was on 66 and Dinker, the Brim presence wasn't really that strong on the south side of Gage, or was it?
It really was, but it was older guys. It was a guy named Kenny Johnson, had a red 64. It was Kim and Jeanette Vaughn. They lived on 65th down the street from Raymond Potts, and the Brims would come pick them up. They was the fly girls in the neighborhood, and they were a little bit older, so the Brims would come get them, and I was like a little brother to them, so I got to meet all the Brims or whatever. But these dudes was 19, 20 years old when I'm 12, so you know, they were like grown men. I mean, really grown men, you know what I mean? Whereas Monster Cody and all these other, they were just kids, you know what I mean? So it was totally different. Well, this is 66 and Dinker in 1974. My mother moved into that house right there. They got all the trees in it. So from 74 to 1977, this is where we played football on the streets. This is where, you know, everybody would come, we would ride our bikes and hop over. We would build these ramps. We would use shopping carts and crates and build the ramps and hop our bikes over here. So from 74 to October, I think, of 77, this was it right here.
Who were some of the first kids you met when you was out here as a 10-year-old?
They still live here to this day, the players. Lil Man, Chris, April, Bridget. My next door neighbor was Tanya Nairn, Calvin Nairn, Bernard, Lavelle, the Nairn family. Down the street was Junior, Daryl Layton, their sister Brenda, Ronald, we call him Rock now. Down the other way was James Graham. James Graham is actually the nephew of Larry Graham, the famous singer. Sean Easley, Shark, they all lived on this side of the street. Milton Johnson, his little brother, Kenny Johnson, lived over there. But around the corner was Pat and Greg. So they always came around the corner. They connected with my brother really good. So Marcus lived on 67. Reginald Brown, Norris Sterling, his brother. Yeah, so it was a lot of fun times riding bikes and doing stuff over here, you know. So I was a paper boy. So what I had to do is I had to deliver the papers around here. So I'm riding my bike, deliver papers, and every time I show up on 69th Street, Monster would send them off the porch. The house at the corner, I can't remember if it was Todd or Michael lived at the corner. But shit, he would send them off the porch. Monster sent them off the porch like, man, take Skipp bike, get his paper. So I had to fight every time I hit 69th Street. But he never did fight me. And then walking to the bus stop and going to Florence, we had to walk down Dinker. So it would be a challenge walking, you know. Big Harv and his little brother, Lil Harv and them, Monster little brother, Keyshawn, they all want to fight, but they weren't evil like him. But then he would never fight me. Matter of fact, I never seen him fight any of us that came off 66. He would just tell them to. So it was different times back then though, man. It wasn't gangs though. See, there was no A-Tray, was no 60s. Over here was Westside Crips and shit, we was kids, so we didn't even know nothing about that.
Thanks for watching StreetTV.net. If you're not subscribed, please hit that button below and click the bell to receive alerts and notifications. Like and comment below to give us your feedback, and be sure to watch the 2 related videos to the right. If you want to support this platform or follow us on social media, visit the links in the description and listen to our weekly podcast, The Gangster Chronicles, every Thursday. And thanks for watching StreetTV.net.